The new 8 o'clock on CNN. Parker Spitzer, weeknights on CNN.
The bull story is this company with 600 million users worldwide, probably headed to 1 billion or 2 billion. People are building their lives around it. It's not like a news site that you visit and you leave. People are actually building their entire lives about it. So the bet is not only advertising revenue, but commerce revenue and other opportunities will flow out of that. Obviously, we're very early. They only have about 2 billion of revenue now.
Yeah, okay, that's good. 2 billion of revenue, somehow that's the number circulating. How much profit?
A small amount of profit,
Tiny.
probably 100, 200 million. So on a PE basis, it's absurd. But
Right.
obviously, Goldman is looking forward and saying, where's it going to be?
Here's my question. I got 3 teenage daughters. They have Facebook sites. It is like oxygen to them, but like oxygen, they don't pay for it. So where's the money coming from? Explain how you make money on this.
Well, look, I'm no expert on how they think they're going to make money. That's a big mystery for all these social networking sites. At the moment, as Henry could tell better than I could, they have the eyeballs, right? They have the 500 million. Last time I heard it was 500 million. Now today, Henry is saying it's 600 million. By the way, last week, Facebook's valuation was 42 billion in the private market. Today, a week later, it's 50 billion with Goldman Sachs validation. It doesn't get any better than that. How they make money?
Wait a minute. I'm a Facebook user, and I'm also a person who wants to be rich. Why is it that Goldman Sachs can come in and make this investment in a company that's not public, and I cannot? How does that work?
Apparently you're not rich enough. You just have to be a Goldman Sachs client, and they will now put you in Facebook through a special purpose vehicle.
Special purpose vehicle.
Membership has its privileges.
Well, but now, wait a minute, because doesn't the SEC have rules so that if you have 499 investors, then you have to disclose financial information?
Absolutely, and that's what they're investigating right now as we speak, and this is, in fact, going to add fuel to that fire. But you could actually go onto the secondary market in one of these private trading markets that exist now in Facebook stock, and if you wanted to, you could probably buy some too. I don't know whether it'd be easy or not. I have not tried to do it, but it's out there for you to do.
But my point is Goldman is representing itself as one investor when it might be representing thousands. So isn't that a problem?
We'll see how the SEC sees it, but that is the vehicle. It is create a company that is a single investor, and then you buy shares in that company. That's
but this really issue came up, you know, over the last few weeks because in the secondary trading market, people have been buying and selling Facebook shares for months now, and I think the SEC is figuring out that there's probably more than 500 people doing that.
This is a critically important way for the early investors and the founders to begin to cash out what is otherwise an illiquid investment. But more interesting to me, perhaps, is how Goldman finances its investment. And, Bill, where do they get the money to do this?
So Goldman is doing this off their balance sheet, Elliot, which is not through one of their private equity funds, not through presumably one of their hedge funds. They probably, if I were Goldman, I would be going to the Fed window, getting it for 50 basis points or less.
Let me understand this. Wait a minute. So as taxpayers, we're lending them the money.
They're a bank holding company.
They're investing it in Facebook. They pay us 50 basis points and they get all the upside?
Absolutely.
Who's representing me in this bargain? I want a lawyer at the table.
The great thing is, what have we been urging the banks to do ever since the bailout is take more risk, make more loans. That's what they're doing with our money, and they're going to get all the upside.
But to come back to the revenue, because I'm still troubled by this notion that advertising is going to get them enough revenue to justify a $50 billion valuation. How much advertising do they have right now?
Approximately $2 billion. Some big percentage
most
of that
is
advertising.
What, though?
Most of it's advertising. They have very targeted ads. I can buy Harvard graduates in a particular class who are interested in a particular thing. It's very targeted. But the big bet is that this is going to look like Google, which also had an extraordinary revenue ramp. Everybody said, oh, it's just a search engine, no revenue. They discovered the most powerful advertising product in the history of the world. The idea is that Facebook will come into those products.
Henry, as you say, Facebook, people live there. I mean, a lot of people who email me from that site. They do all sorts of things. So you think they'll add that search machine. But what else are they going to do with all that money?
Look,
is Facebook going to take over the world?
No, and there's another, the other revenue stream they have is they take a piece of virtual gaming when it's there. When you buy stuff in games like, there are so many games that people now spend time doing, they're the new soap operas. When you buy stuff, Facebook gets a big cut of that. So it's not just advertising, there's also transactions.
But something about this bothers me. When Google targets a lot bothers me. For this question, only one thing. When Google does all of that targeting, it does it based upon the search. And it knows based upon my search who I am, what I'm doing, and maybe it's stored that. How does Facebook get all this information about it? Does it read the emails back and forth? Does it read the messages?
You tell it.
So in other words, it is getting...
Spitzer,
well, I don't know. I'm too old for this.
Attorney General, Governor. If I want to target Attorney General,
stop
Governor,
sucking
you
up,
can.
Henry.
Absolutely. But you tell them that. That's what your daughters
so
have done too, by the
digesting
way.
this information, and they're getting all the... Now, at some point, do people begin to say, this is 1984, and pull back?
Look,
and does the business model fall apart?
I think there's a very important thing has to be said here, in that I don't think Goldman really cares, for instance, if the valuation proves out at $50 billion or not. Because I think what they're thinking is, I can take this $375 million that I've just invested, I'm going to get the IPO of this thing, I'm going to be the lead manager of this IPO, and I'm going to sell it to the public, regardless of how it trades in the aftermarket. I'm going to be able to sell it for a higher valuation than $50 billion. The revenue streams to me, Goldman Sachs, investment banking fees, asset management fees, managing Mark Zuckerberg's account are going to be more than paid off.
This is fascinating.
For me.
This is almost market manipulation. It's not. But they're almost saying, by virtue of our putting this money in, we guarantee
it's
the valuation
validation,
will...
and that's what Mark Zuckerberg wanted here.
Right.
He can't justify this valuation on any grounds, based on revenue or net income, but it's incredibly validating. Last week it was worth $42 billion. Today, $50 billion is what Goldman Sachs says it's worth. That's incredibly powerful for Mark Zuckerberg, and more power to him if he can get it done.
Absolutely.
Is it most likely that these circumstances are going to force Facebook to go public?
The SEC is going to force Facebook to go public, and their venture capital investors who've been waiting for the big payoff. Because, you can trade it in this secondary market in small little bits and drabs, but, the venture capital guys, they want the big payday, and they want the big liquidity payday, which they can only really get through an IPO and then a secondary offer.
So what's the best deal for an ordinary investor, a retail investor, as we're called?
Invest in Goldman Sachs, because that's where you're going to get the payoff from this.
I'm going to put you guys on the spot. 1 year from today, market cap of Facebook, north or south of $50 billion?
North.
God.
Come on, Bill. You're an investment banker.
What?
You've written these books. Give it to us. I'm going to buy
I'm going to say this is a bubble, and we're at a top here, and this is ridiculous valuation.
You have experience with bubbles, bubble or not?
Absolutely. On Facebook, no. I think there is justification. I think it's going to be north, but it's hugely risky. I would not put my own money in it.